Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel this is going to be episode 3 of my Fluval V-Spec 10 litre setup and review series. Today's episode I'm going to be adding some decor to the tank. I've had the tank up and running now for a couple of days. Seems to be running really well, had no problems with the pump or the light. I'd say one thing though I have noticed is perhaps the pump might be quite strong for this tank, but time will tell with that. As I stated in the last video, I have sort of put the nozzle sort of in an upwards position to get some nice flow at the top and hopefully break up the flow a little bit of that. I had planned to go on the weekend to get all of my decor, but I sort of popped in during the week to a fish store that I don't normally go to, and they had a really nice piece of driftwood, so I've been soaking that for the last couple of days. I'm not 100% sure on the type of wood that it is. I know it does have a specific name, perhaps someone out there can tell me. When it was dry, it was quite a light coloured wood, and it's pretty much sort of almost like a root. But now I've been soaking it for a couple of days, it's darkened up, and I think it's going to look quite nice with the light. I'm hoping it's going to be the right size for this tank. And then tomorrow I'm going to pop down to my normal local fish store that I go to and see if I can add in some Anubis or moss or something else into the tank. But for now, I just thought I'd start off the video with the driftwood that I found. So I'm just going to give the driftwood a bit of a rinse off. And I'm going to put it in there and we're going to have a bit of a look at it. Okay, so I've given it a bit of a wash off and placed it inside. So it's quite wide, so it's just fit into the sort of bottom section of the tank. If only it had perhaps another couple of inches on it there at the top, I think it would have looked much better. Then it could sort of come up to the surface. But besides that, I think, yeah, it looks really cool. I'm really excited about all the detail on all the branches there. And underneath here will give some really cool space for the fighter to move around and explore and sort of follow it up. And I'm hoping with that sort of big center mass part there, it'll break up the flow of the pump quite well. So hopefully scatter the flow a bit and yeah, make it a little bit more fighter friendly. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously I can turn it around and spin it in a few different directions. I sort of like this direction as it sort of leans towards the back and gives quite a bit of space at the front here. Now what I'm planning to do is also add in an Anubis on some driftwood, and that could perhaps fit in the front corner there, or in here, or even fill the rear area. Something there, depending on what size I can find in my yeah, local fish shop. But I really like this wood. I think it's it's just like a little bit alien looking, and I think a fighter will really love it. Especially I can just picture him now sort of coming underneath and swimming through. So by the same token though, I do want to get a nice bit of driftwood with some Anubis, or perhaps start growing some moss on this wood. I also want to give the fighter some space to move around and work his way through. So maybe we'll have a look at it in the night mode. Now that's pretty cool. That is really cool. Okay, so I'm going to continue this video in a few moments. We'll move forward in time to tomorrow when I pop down to my LFS and see what kind of timbers and that they have, and something else to add into the tank. So I'll see you a little bit later in the video.
These guys are expensive. The one on the other side's not.
Okay, so that was some footage from my local fish store. I love going down there and checking the place out. As you could see, they've got some great planted tank setups. They have a really good selection of plants, and one of the places has a few more choices of moss than most aquariums around. So I was thinking about adding some moss onto this driftwood, but I think I'm going to keep it pretty simple. And for now, just add in a little piece of driftwood with Anubias on it, which I bought today, and so let's have a look at it. Alright, so this is the piece I've chosen. It's got some really nice long roots coming off it, on a fair chunk of driftwood, and the wood itself just looks so cool. It's all twisted and flattened out and little spiky bits. I think it just looks so cool. Really excited to add this into the tank. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a rinse off, and then I'm going to position it in the tank and see how it looks. Okay, so after a little bit of a play around, I did have it at the rear of the tank, in sort of that back right corner there, but yeah, I think it should be a bit more of a feature. So I have put it in the front corner here. I think the roots sort of coming off, and looks so cool. And it doesn't take too much away from the centerpiece of the large piece of driftwood. And I think once it grows up a little bit more and sort of comes up to meet the center of the driftwood there, I think it'll look really cool. And yeah, still not sure if I'm going to be putting in a little bit of Java moss. That could be a possibility, but I think for now I'm just going to leave it as is, and that gives plenty of places for the fighting fish to sort of come down, investigate, and move through underneath here, and then yeah, sort of come up to a bit more open space. So I think that looks really cool. Well, in my opinion, anyway. So that'll be the end of this this episode. Now I'm going to leave the tank running for a few weeks. Just keep monitoring the temperature, which seems to be fine. As I said in the last episode, I got the heater which stays around the 26 degrees, and it has stayed that. I have been monitoring it with my my digital thermometer here, and it seems pretty consistent. So yeah, just going to leave it for a little while, maybe do a water test in a week or two, see how it's all going. And then all things going well, the next episode will be me putting a fish in here. So it'll either be a new fish that we'll be adding in, or it'll be the fighter from my other tank. Will be rehomed in this, and he'll get a bit more space and a real plant instead of the plastic plants that he has at the moment. He is pretty happy in there, but it would be pretty cool to see him in a tank like this. But you know, I am open to the idea of getting another fighter and yeah, adding to the fish collection here. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I think the tank's really come a long way now. I think it looks really cool. Really happy to add it onto the sort of bench here in the living space, and having this really bright light on it too looks really cool. And I think that'll be more than enough light for the plant that I've chosen. You can actually have a look at it in the night mode now, which looks really cool. Yeah, very happy with this tank and the setup. So the next video will be adding the fish, and then perhaps there'll be one more video after that, which will be the pros and cons of this tank. Now I already have a few pros and cons, but I'm going to save them up for a video. And of course, once I've added a fish in, I'll be able to really find out a few more of the pros and cons that I haven't come up against yet. So anyway, I'd love to hear people's feedback of the tank. Do you think it looks good? Do you think the new piece of decor that I've added in could be added in over to the left side perhaps, or the rear? Yeah, I'd love to know people's opinions. So thanks for watching another episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.